She was the Virgin Queen, Gloriana, and her reign would shape the course of English history. Yet behind Queen Elizabeth's dazzling image, the powdered face, the fiery red hair, the regal bearing, lies a story far darker than legend suggests. It is a tale not just of power and majesty, but of vanity, survival, and a slow, relentless poisoning that may have contributed to her end. In an age when beauty was equated with virtue and strength, Elizabeth's iconic look became both her armor and her undoing. Today's beauty influencers warn about toxic ingredients in cosmetics. But imagine a world where your daily makeup routine was a literal brush with death. This is the true story of how Elizabeth I's pursuit of perfection became a decades-long dance with poison. The story begins in the autumn of 1562, just 4 years into Elizabeth's reign. She was 29, youthful and untested, when disaster struck. On October 10th, the Queen collapsed with a violent fever. Her ladies-in-waiting rushed to her side, but within days, the dreaded diagnosis swept through the palace: smallpox. This was the great terror of the medieval world, a disease that killed 1 in 3 and left its survivors permanently marked. Kings had died, dynasties had ended, and now the fate of England hung in the balance. For days, the court was paralyzed with fear. Advisors whispered in darkened corridors, fearful that the nation might lose the last of the Tudor line. But Elizabeth survived. When the fever finally broke, the Queen was alive, but changed. Smallpox had ravaged her face, leaving pitted scars as a cruel reminder of her brush with death. For a woman whose legitimacy was doubted at every turn, the scars were more than cosmetic. They were a threat to her authority. Elizabeth understood this better than anyone. As historian Paige Reynolds observes, she herself was being judged. The Queen herself once wrote, "The eyes of many behold our actions. A spot is soon spied in our garments, a blemish quickly noted in our doings." For Elizabeth, the scars were not just a personal tragedy, they were a political liability. In search of a solution, the Queen and her court turned to the latest luxury from the continent: Venetian ceruse. Imported from Venice, this snowy white cosmetic was the holy grail of Renaissance beauty. Its secret ingredient was lead carbonate, painstakingly manufactured by soaking lead in vinegar. The result was a soft, chalky powder that promised a flawless complexion, a porcelain canvas fit for a queen. In the gilded courts of Europe, a pale face was the mark of nobility, a symbol that one did not labor in the sun like commoners. But Venetian ceruse was no miracle. It was poison. Lead carbonate is one of the most toxic substances known to humankind. Absorbed through the skin, it attacks the nervous system, kidneys, and brain, with effects that build up month by month, year by year. Yet the dangers remained a closely guarded secret, hidden beneath the allure of flawless skin. Elizabeth's daily routine became a ritual of transformation and destruction. Each morning, her servants mixed the ceruse with rose water and carefully layered it onto her face and neck, erasing scars, smoothing wrinkles, and crafting the illusion of perfection. But the mask was not complete. To achieve her famous red lips, Elizabeth turned to another deadly pigment: cinnabar, a bright mineral laced with mercury. The Queen's signature look was thus a lethal cocktail, worn not just for hours but for days at a time. Unlike modern makeup, which is removed nightly, this mask clung to her skin, sealing in the toxins. The effects of this toxic regimen were not immediate, but they were inexorable. At first, the signs were subtle. Elizabeth's hair began to thin, especially at the hairline, creating the high, domed forehead that soon became fashionable across the land. But this beauty trend was no accident. It was a symptom of lead poisoning. Underneath the thick layers of makeup, her skin began to deteriorate, turning gray and wrinkled. The solution? More ceruse. By the end of her life, courtiers reported that the Queen's cosmetic mask was an inch thick. When the time came to remove the makeup, the process was just as brutal. The royal physicians concocted a cleanser of eggshells, alum, and even more mercury, which stripped away the makeup, and with it, layers of skin. The result was a vicious cycle. As the cosmetics damaged her face, the Queen applied more to cover the damage, poisoning herself further. The effects were not just physical. Mercury is a powerful neurotoxin, causing memory loss, irritability, and depression. In her later years, Elizabeth withdrew from the world, refusing even to keep mirrors in her rooms. She was plagued by melancholy, her once sharp wit dulled by the poisons she wore each day. The Queen who had once dazzled Europe became a shadow, her mind clouded and her spirit weighed down by unseen toxins. Elizabeth was not alone in her suffering. Decades after her death, Maria Coventry, Countess of Coventry, became another tragic victim of Venetian ceruse. Renowned as one of the great beauties of her age, Maria embraced the white lead makeup during a visit to Paris in 1752. Her reputation depended on her flawless appearance, and she wore the cosmetic constantly. But the price was fatal. By 27, Maria was dead, her life claimed by lead poisoning. Her death shocked society and became a cautionary tale, whispered in drawing rooms across Europe as death by vanity. As Elizabeth's reign drew to a close, the effects of her toxic beauty routine became impossible to hide. By 1603, the Queen was old and frail, her face masked in an inch of ceruse, her hair wispy, her voice failing. In her final weeks, she lost the power of speech, another symptom of mercury poisoning. Unable to speak, she conveyed her wishes for the succession through gestures, tracing a circle around her head to indicate James of Scotland as her chosen heir. On March 24, 1603, Elizabeth died at Richmond Palace. The official cause of death remains a mystery. She refused a post-mortem examination, and her secrets went with her to the grave. Modern science suggests that bronchial pneumonia may have been the immediate cause of death, but most historians agree. Decades of lead and mercury exposure had left the Queen's body battered and her mind clouded. In 1634, Venetian ceruse was officially declared a poison, and today, the Guinness World Records lists it as the most toxic makeup ever created. Some historians, like Stephen Virapin, argue that tales of Elizabeth's extreme makeup may have been exaggerated by later generations eager to paint her as a vain queen. But whether fact or myth, the toxic legacy of lead and mercury cosmetics is undeniable. Today, the beauty industry is governed by strict regulations, laws born out of tragedies like Elizabeth's. The price of perfection is no longer measured in lives lost, but in centuries past, the pursuit of beauty could be fatal. Elizabeth I gave England its golden age, but she paid a heavy price. Her makeup did not just conceal her scars, it became a part of her legend, a fatal mask that may have hastened her end. In life and in death, Elizabeth was a prisoner of the image she created. A queen whose quest for perfection became her greatest vulnerability. Her story is a reminder that the standards we set and the masks we wear can shape not just how history remembers us, but how we live and die. If you enjoyed this historical journey, please support our channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to click the bell icon.